The garden looks wrecked and the barbecue needs some work. You did Morgan Silver Dollar with every qualifying RIA or 401k. You do. So get in touch with the experts at noblegoldinvestments.com. 877-646-5347. Call 877-646-5347. That's www.noblegoldinvestments.com. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that for our very good friends at noblegold.com. All right. So, okay. Let's move on here. Okay, so let's take a look at the earthquake map and see what's going on around the world here with the earthquakes. All right. It looks like the Ring of Fire has been very active, but out of the earthquakes today, we have 37 earthquakes, 2.5 and above, 4.6 in the Chromatic region, 5.0 in Indonesia, 4.6 in Mexico, again along that South American coast. Looks like there's some activity, 5.1 in Vanuatu, 5.4 in the Chromatic Islands, 4.5 in Greece, 4.6 in the Banda Sea, 4.6 in Argentina. A bunch of stuff going on in the Nevada area, two small ones, but 2.5 in Nevada. The map is going crazy on me. Let's see here. Several in Idaho, 2.5 in Idaho. Over here in Oklahoma, we have 3.6, 2.9 in Barstow, California, 2.8 in Jacinto, California, 2.7 in Holtville, California, 2.5 in Pinnacles, California. So a bunch of stuff going on in California. All right. All right. So let's see what's happening at spaceweather.com. Spaceweather.com. We have a geomagnetic storm going on. We have solar winds at 435.2 kilometers per second. The solar wind stream hit Earth's magnetic field on April the 7th, sparking a minor G1 class geomagnetic storm. During the storm, a wave of purple auroras rolled across Canada. Later, they were spotted in Finland as well. The storm is subsiding now as Earth begins to exit the stream. Sprite season is also beginning, and several people got photographs of the sprites over Kansas. So that's really cool. They were really red in color, very brilliant red in color. There's pictures of them on spaceweather.com. And there were 11 fireballs spotted on April the 8th. Today is April the 8th. So let's go down here and see. On April the 8th, we have a 13.1 lunar distance near-Earth asteroid and a 15.2 lunar distance near-Earth asteroid. So both of those are very safe distances away from us. Tomorrow, we have one 2.9 lunar distance away. So we should be safe from near-Earth asteroids, according to spaceweather.com. So there you go. That sounds good. Now, as we're talking about climate chaos, you don't want to miss tonight. Tonight, tune in early. We have a special doubleheader Thursday night. Mr. BB333, two B's and three threes, will be here. If you guys follow him on YouTube, he is always giving us really cool weather updates, or sometimes he does UFO sky phenomenons. He does really great things with the sun. If you send him pictures, he will do image analysis. He's also been on the History Channel and Ancient Aliens. He's going to join us in our Climate Chaos webinar. And tonight he will be on a doubleheader right ahead of Mike from Around the World. So tune in early tonight. I think that starts at, let's see, He's actually going to tape the webinar with us. So let me think a minute on the time. He's taping with us from 8:30 to 9:30. So then he goes live after that, 8:30 to 9:30. So I believe at around 9:30, maybe about 9:45, they'll be going live with Mr. BB333 from YouTube. And he'll be on live with Pastor Paul ahead of Mike from around the world. So you definitely want to see that. So tune in live tonight, and you will have a special treat, a double header, as we're getting ready to do our Climate Chaos webinar. These gentlemen have been kind enough to share some time with us ahead of time. So you'll definitely want to tune into that and get your tickets for the Climate Chaos. That being said, let's take a look. We talked earlier in the week about where did all the water go, and we talked about some of the rivers in India drying up and some of the rivers in Croatia drying up. Well, we don't have to look far. We can look right over here in Utah, and I'll give a shout out to my sister Judy over in Utah, who is working on the Women's Warrior Conference that will probably be held next year. But right in her backyard in Salt Lake City, the Great Salt Lake is drying up by 50% so far. It says it's a lake of paradoxes. Today, the Great Salt Lake's volume has dropped nearly 50%. The largest saline lake in the Western Hemisphere is drying up. It's not a singular case, nor a surprise to some keeping track of the water of the world, like we've been talking about. The Dead Sea in Jordan, the Dead Sea would be in Israel, but it's also in Jordan, yes. It is actually on both sides of the, one side is Jordan, one side is Israel. But I find that interesting that this article doesn't mention Israel. Very interesting. You have to watch the vernacular. And today is Holocaust Day, and we're going to do a special thing about that, but I didn't want to put it in the title because it would trigger algorithms. The Dead Sea is in Israel as well as in Jordan. We know that because we've been to the Dead Sea in Israel. The Aral Sea in Kazakhstan, the Salton Sea and Owens Lake in California, Lake Pulpo in Bolivia, Lake Urmia in Iran. They are all disappearing or have disappeared at rates faster than anyone anticipated. One study from the National Audubon Society found that out of 9 western saline lakes, more than half have withered by 50% to 95% from their earliest recorded levels to present. The greatest Salt Lake size has always fluctuated according to the United States Geological Survey. Its surface area has varied from 3,300 square miles at its highest levels in 1986 to 87 to about 950 square miles at its lowest level in 63. But over the course of more than a century of documentation, researchers have been able to account for an 11-foot drop in lake levels due to human development, which has occurred mostly over the past 10 years. That might not sound like a lot when you think of most lakes, but the Great Salt Lake is not like others. Its lake bed is shallow, averaging a depth of just 15 feet and recording a maximum depth of about 33 feet. When water levels drop more, shoreline is exposed than what would be exposed at deeper bodies of water. What's left behind is a dusty playa full of toxic chemicals and hazardous pollutants. According to research from the Utah State University, nearly 50% of the lake bed is now exposed. Approved water developments that are currently underway could take the water level down another 10 feet. This time, it may not be part of the cycle. It may be the end. Long before the arrival, and then it goes on to tell you more about the history of Salt Lake. So, very, very interesting. We have another, this one is a lake, so another body of water drying up. Very concurrent with Mike from around the world's concerns that you would have bodies of water drying up that we would see all around. And so there you go, another example of climate chaos, another thing that Mike from around the world was talking about. Now, I don't know about you, but you know, salt is very, very irritant. It's, you know, it's a very, very irritant when you have it full on, dried up. If you've ever been around salt flats, that is very irritating. Now, can you imagine that all drying up and then a dust storm coming through, and you'd have that salt in the air and dusty air? I mean, that could be very, very irritating. So think about that as a pollution source. Wow, that is just that would be very, very bad. So think about all these things coming up as a problem, concerning. So we've got that going on, and then we have. Let's see if I can figure out where the volcano is. I have the volcano on here somewhere. It's just, where is the volcano? Oh, where did the volcano go? I know that it's here somewheres. Can't find it, but I can tell you that the Iceland volcano had to be shut down on Monday. Number one, why would you run to the volcano? Why on earth would you run to the volcano to go see the volcano? But people did. So tourism, you know, the volcano was the first that it's went off in Iceland in 800 years. And so people went to go see it. People went all the way up to Iceland to see the volcano. And what happened? Well, it kept going off, right? And so, sure enough, after it kept going off, new fissures started opening up. And so as of Monday, here I've got the report. As of Monday, they had to tell the tourists that you've got to get out of here. It is dangerous for you, okay? Yes, it's so beautiful. I need to be there, right, RoboMom? I need to just be there, right? Okay, so it's beautiful, but it's dangerous, all right? So lava is flowing from a third fissure that opened overnight in Iceland's nearly 3-week-old volcanic eruption near the capital. The spectacular eruption began on March 19th when a first fissure disgorged. Wow, disgorged. A steady stream of lava flowing into the valley of, now I'm not even going to try to say that, Mount Fargadardfall. Can't say it. But, you know, I did hear Dabo say it beautifully. I must say, he said it very beautifully. Dabu, on Iceland's southwestern tip. The new split comes 2 days after two fissures opened around 700 meters from the initial eruption, creating a large molten rivulet flowing into the neighboring valley. The third lava stream, about a meter deep and 150 meters long, is a new draw for tens of thousands of gawkers, it says, taking advantage of the site's relatively easy access. It's about half a kilometer from the craters of initial eruption. The state broadcasters showed a flash of light appearing at the site around midnight, about halfway between the two sites of the earlier eruptions, gushing lava in small spurts and belching smoke. The new river of bright orange magma flowed down the slope to join an expanding field of lava at the base, now covering more than 33 hectares, or 81 acres, according to the last press briefing by the Icelandic Meteorological Office late Tuesday. All right, so they had to close the place down because people didn't have a clue that it's actually dangerous to be walking around in a lava field, especially an active lava field. Okay, so please stay out of the active lava fields. Stay away from active lava flows. Magma is like, I don't know, it's like in the thousands of degrees. It's very, very hot there, okay? So, yeah, you probably don't want to be in an active lava field. All right, so there you go. But it's very, very beautiful up there, all right? All right. All right, love you guys. Love you guys. It is a very serious thing to be walking around in a lava field. Oh, okay, but I guess they do it in Hawaii all the time. I've been told that they go down to the big island of Hawaii, where it's always at least seeping. Sometimes sometimes the big island of Hawaii really gets active, as we know, but it's always at least flowing some on the big island, and people walk down on that lava field all the time. I guess. I don't know. I'm a chicken. I wouldn't do it. I am a chicken. I would be like, get away from there. I was such a crazy mother, such a crazy mom. I was just like, ah. I was always like pulling my kids back from everything. So I could not imagine getting, getting that close to a lava field. Just crazy. But you never know. Let's ask Mr. BB333 when he gets on tonight. Should we be walking in active lava fields? Huh? Should we do that? Probably shouldn't. So let's go over here. Strange Sounds has a story about mysterious fire bursts bubbling out of water in Indonesia rice fields. One question they have, could that be magma underneath there? Or is it gas from a local gas, I think it was a refinery that just blew up nearby. Let's go see. So, over in Indonesia, in a rice field, they have bubbles of fire coming up. A few days after a massive explosion at an oil refinery, residents of Indonesia were shocked by fires and bubbles erupting from a small crater in a rice field. Well, that would be shocking, wouldn't it? Bubbling water, mud, and fire are bursting out of the ground. It's probably gas coming out of the hole. Do you think the fire could grow underground? In fact, many people are worried that the small burning and bubbling pit could transform into a more dramatic event, such as the Lapindo mud flow in East Java. What is the Lapindo mud flow? The world's most destructive mud volcano was born near the town of Sidoarjo. I have no idea if I'm saying that right, on the island of Java about 15 years ago, and to this day it has not stopped erupting. There you go. The mud volcano known as Lucy started on May 29, 2006, and at its peak disgorged, here's that word again, a staggering 180,000 cubic meters of mud every day, burying villages in mud up to 40 meters thick. The worst event of its kind in recorded history, the eruption took 13 lives and destroyed the homes of 60,000 people. But although the mud is still flowing more than a decade later, scientists are not yet agreed on the cause. The debate is whether the eruption of Lucy was due to an earthquake several days previously or down to a catastrophic failure of the Banjar Panji 1 gas exploration well that was being drilled nearby at the time. So given to the huge impact of the volcano on the communities nearby and the fields that were their livelihoods, why are we still unsure of the cause? You can also, and then it's telling you to follow people. So that happened in, what did they call that? Lapindo. So now we have a similar reaction happening over here in, what is the name of this town? In a field rice in Indonesia. They want to know, is it methane? Or is it because they just had an oil refinery blow up nearby? It's residents of Indramayu, Indonesia. So now they've got a mud field of rice blowing up. So is this going to turn into a mud volcano? Or is this because they just had an oil refinery blow up nearby? So they've got a similar thing going on to what happened in this town that in 2006, which they said ended up being a mud volcano. So I guess we're just going to have to stay tuned and see. But again, this sounds very much like what Mike from Around the World is talking about with magma coming close to this surface, and we're going to see more of these things. Is this also what Gil is talking about, Gil Broussard, who is also going to be at our Climate Chaos webinar, when he's saying, hey guys, we are disturbing the sun with the passing by of planet 7X. And I know people get tore up because they say we haven't seen planet 7X. And we have seen it mathematically because the whole Kuiper belt is out of sorts mathematically. And we are seeing Jupiter come out of its orbit mathematically. We're seeing all this pulling on the whole solar system mathematically. So we are seeing something mathematically. And so other people say, yes, we have seen it. Gil says, no, we haven't. So you just need to tune in to the Climate Chaos webinar to hear all of these experts talk on all of these things, right? Mike from around the world, he is going to be on tonight, Thursday night. You don't want to miss anything that he has to say. He's always updating us on all of these things. All right? All right. So there you go. Okay. All right. Yes, RoboMom has good advice. Good advice, RoboMom. Study up on your volcano before you go tiptoeing through the lava fields. Excellent advice from RoboMom. All right. I hope Ernie had a great birthday last night. All right. And RoboMom probably will put the, I don't know, maybe you did. Maybe I just missed it. But I bet she shares the meatloaf recipe on her Facebook recipe group. I don't know. Maybe you did, huh? All right. All right. So let's just check in. We've got some other things going on around the world. I saw that with the climate chaos, you can't have climate chaos without disrupting other species on the planet. So the U.S. and Canada are gearing up for another Asian murder hornet season. All right. In Montreal, Canada, while its murder hornet moniker draws international attention, Paul Westendorp prefers to compare the Asian giant hornet to a polar bear. The polar bear is very fierce and is dangerous to its environment, but chances that you and I would ever run into one is pretty low. Also, like polar bears, Van Westendorp, a provincial apiculturist, isn't that a cool name? Apiculturist, with the BC government, said the hornets are apex predators that sit atop the food chain. They are ground nesters with ground nesters. As soon as their nest is disturbed, they have a very strong defense mechanism. They come out very quickly and they want to make sure that you get a warning and get out of there. Now, as this year's hornet season slowly starts up with the species coming out of hibernation, scientists and other experts in both the United States and Canada are urging people to keep an eye out for the hornets and alert for any sightings. The Asian giant hornet, officially called Vespa mandarina, the species is native to East Asia, first prompted concern in U.S. and Canada in 2019 when the first specimens were reported in both countries. That year, a dead hornet was found on a property in Blaine, a small community in Washington state near the Canadian border, while others were spotted around Nanaimo, British Columbia. The Asian giant, it's jumping on me. The Asian giant hornet typically measures 1.5 inches in length. I don't want to see him. And is distinguished by a large head that has a mix of yellow and orange. U.S. authorities said its sting is much more dangerous than that of bees or wasps and can cause severe pain, swelling, necrosis, and in rare cases, even death. They can pose a risk to livestock and other insects, as well as honeybees. We don't need anybody else messing with our honeybees, which are already facing dwindling numbers and for which the hornets have a voracious appetite. A small group of Asian giant hornets can kill an entire honeybee hive in a matter of hours. We need to keep those guys away from our honeybees. That is why experts have said it's important for the invasive species, which is not native to North America, to be eradicated. In October of the last year, Washington State Department of Agriculture discovered the U.S. first Asian giant hornet nest in the town of Blaine. They witnessed dozens of hornets going in and out of the nest, which was found in a tree cavity 3 meters off the ground. They successfully affixed radio trackers to 3 hornets that had been trapped in the area and led them back to the nest. How about that? So even the hornets have to worry about contact tracing. How about that? A day after the discovery, the authorities vacuumed 98 hornets right out of the nest, and they later said they found 500 live specimens at various stages of developments in the nest. Wow, this is fascinating. But we don't have all this time to spend on Asian hornets. So there you go. But needless to say, we need to be concerned about the Asian hornets because they are invading us, and they are have a voracious appetite for our poor honeybees, and we need as many honeybees as we can have. So we have got to keep an eye on those honeybees. All right? All right. Let's check back with Sudan. I told you before that Sudan was having a problem again with some warlords and problem over there. The death toll, unfortunately, in Sudan, West Darfur state, has the days of clashes have killed now up to 132 people, significantly raising an earlier death toll. Members of the Masalit and Arab communities have fought since Saturday in and around the state capital, trading gunfire and shelling. Sudan's government has declared a state of emergency in the region. According to medical reports, the number of dead is now up to 132. If you remember when I reported on this the other day, they had attacked a hospital. Mohammed Abdullah Duma, the governor of the region bordering Chad, told a news conference in Sudan's capital the situation is now relatively stable, adding that there was looting but no more fighting. His comments came a day after the Sudanese Doctors Committee in West Darfur said that it had counted at least 37 more fatalities on Wednesday, bringing the number of people killed since Saturday to 87. The bout of fighting is the latest in a series of deadly clashes as security has deteriorated across Darfur. A recent flare-up grew out of a shooting that killed 2 people from the non-Arab Masalit tribe in a camp for displaced people. They're always, like I said, going for vulnerable people, displaced people. United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Agency fighting ensued between the Arab Rizagat and the Masalit tribes, with both mobilizing armed men. The UN suspends activities of all humanitarian activities, which serves as a hub for aid delivery to conflict-wrecked regions. The world boldly said its decision would affect more than 700,000 people. The vast Darfur region was ravaged by civil war that erupted in 2003, leaving 300,000 people dead and 2.5 million displaced. I don't understand this. I just can't understand this. But we need to be aware of these kind of atrocities taking place. And that being said, let's peek in on what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. I told you to keep an eye on it. So, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel told Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday, today, to pull back the Kremlin's military buildup near the border with Ukraine. So, Angela Merkel is trying to get involved, while he turned accusation of Kiev of provocation actions in the conflict region. So, Putin has said that Kiev is the provocator. Ukraine has raised the alarm over an increase in Russian forces near its eastern border as violence has risen along the line of contact separating its troops from Russian-backed separatists in the Donbass region. The chancellor demanded that this buildup be unwound in order to de-escalate the situation. So Germany's government said in a readout of a telephone call between Merkel and Putin, Russia has said its forces pose no threat and were defensive, but that they would stay there as long as Moscow saw fit. A senior Kremlin official said on Thursday that Moscow could under certain circumstances, be forced to defend its citizens in Donbass, and that major hostilities could mark the beginning of the end of Ukraine as a country. Well, that sounds serious. The Kremlin said in its readout of the Merkel phone call that Vladimir Putin noted provocation actions by Kiev, which is deliberately inflaming the situation along the line of contact. Ukraine's President Zelensky flew to eastern Donbass in a show of support on Thursday, 2 days after he called on NATO to lay out a path for Ukraine to join the military bloc whose expansion Moscow fiercely opposes. The rebel hit a 5-month low on Wednesday, a day after Russia said it had begun a planned inspection of its army combat readiness involving thousands of drills. On Thursday, Dmitry Kozak, a senior Kremlin official, said Ukraine's government was like children playing with matches. I support the assessment of the start of military action. This would be the beginning of the end of Ukraine, the deputy head of Russia's presidential administration said. At a news conference, Kozak was asked if Russia would protect its citizens in eastern Ukraine, referring to in his reply where about 8,000 Muslim men and boys were killed by Bosnia Serb forces during Bosnia's war. He said it all depends on the scale of fire. If there is, as our president said, apparently we will have to step in and defend them. This is not good. Ukraine and Western countries said Donbass separatists have been armed, led, funded, and aided by Russians. Moscow has denied interfering while a ceasefire halted full-scale war in 2015. Sporadic fighting has never ceased. Again, we need to keep our eyes on Russia and Ukraine. U.S. is putting their thumb on the scale. Now Germany is putting their thumb on the scale. We need to keep an eye on what is happening over there. Keep an eye on what is happening over there. All right? All right. Okay. All right. So that's happening. So, you think we may need to hang on a minute, let me grab the Bible. Let's talk about this a minute. You think any of this is something that might be we need to be looking at in the end times? Maybe we need to take a look at Matthew 24. Let's review Matthew 24, okay? All right, Matthew 24. Everybody got their Bibles? Everybody got their Bibles out? No dust on our Bibles, right? Let's take a look at Matthew 24. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. All right? And Jesus said unto him, so he's taking a look at the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So he's showing them, he's taking a look at the temple. All right? He's actually taking a look at the temple, showing them the temple. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? So visualize this with me, all right? You're looking at the temple. I mean, this is a magnificent building, a huge, magnificent building in Jerusalem. And the disciples are like, what are you saying to us? He's saying that there's not one of these stones are going to be left on this building. They're trying to visualize it. So they're like, okay, what do you mean, God? When is this Messiah? Keep in mind that when Jesus was here, that many people were saying, I am the Messiah. So that's part of the reason that they were having trouble understanding. We hear wars and rumors of wars. Julie says I'm back. Am I back, guys? Are the beginnings of sorrows. Then shall ye then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Okay.